The overall restaurant industry, Nigel, has seen a slowdown in the past 6 to 9 months. What evidence do you see out there of that tapering off now?
Well, I think, firstly, Scarlet, good afternoon. And yeah, I think we've seen plenty of evidence in all the different segments of the restaurant industry, fast casual, casual dining, QSR. I think we're helped a little bit that we're in the fastest growing part of the restaurant industry, which is the breakfast day part. And an even faster segment is coffee. Everyone wants to get into coffee. So it's competitive, but it's fast growing. I think the economy is clearly steadily improving. We'd love to see GDP above 3%. So far, it hasn't got there, but I think the recent jobs report showed that everything's going in the right direction. So I'm hoping that this year, the restaurant industry will probably have some struggles, but I think it will steadily come out of this trough that we've seen for the last period of time, as you said.
And of course, with Dunkin focusing so much on beverages, we see coffee prices rising a bit as well. What does this mean for your franchisees? Are there planned price increases in 2017, especially as you look at the political environment and all the talk about import taxes on potentially your beans from Central and South America?
Well, we've essentially bought out for most of the year on coffee. We actually don't see too much inflation on coffee beans this year. I think that our franchisee-owned DCP has done a very nice job on that. Obviously, the import tax is something that's tough to take into account because there seems to be all kinds of debate about it. But we're looking to the future with some confidence on commodities. I think commodities overall this year are essentially flat to actually being a tailwind, which is not something I would have said to you 2 months ago. I think it's actually improved in the last couple of months. So we feel good about that. And on pricing, Dunkin is about value. Our franchisees understand that. We've worked with them very hard on pricing, or what we call smart pricing. And yeah, a couple of years ago, they may have gone too far on increasing prices at restaurant level. I think they actually now understand that that's not helpful to driving traffic, back to your earlier question. And I think we're in for a good period of time where we're not going to see too many price increases, and that's going to be good for our consumers and good for our traffic.
Nigel, Scarlet mentioned the political situation, and of course the other thing that's happening in corporate news and politics is essentially the politicization of all brands. We saw it during the Super Bowl. We see Trump calling out President Trump calling out companies from time to time. It seems like despite the best efforts of corporations, they get sucked into being on one side or the other. How are you thinking about that risk as a very prominent consumer brand with a lot of brand identity, this risk that's out there of your brands at some point theoretically becoming politicized in some way?
So, Joe, interesting question, and thank you for that. I mean, one of the things I've tried to represent through my time at Dunkin, which is just about 8 years now, is if we want to grow, we have to do it through our franchisees. And whenever we think about how we influence administrations, whatever persuasion they are, we have to do it through their eyes. So we try and stay out of too much controversy. We try and make sure that our point is made. We talk to the administration, we talk to states, we talk to cities all the time. We take groups of franchisees with us. And basically our message is we need policies that's good for small business. Our franchisees are small business people. We need policies, for instance, tax reform would be very helpful for all of us. And obviously sensible tax reform. Immigration reform, because one of the things that our franchisees are challenged with day in, day out, and they complain all the time, is finding labor. I mean, there is a little bit of a labor shortage now, which seems perverse after some of the struggles of the last few years. We need some hold up on regulation. I mean, I'll give you an example. We had a store that was being built in the Midwest. It was held up for over 2 years because 2 water authorities were arguing over who had jurisdiction over that particular piece of land. So I think there's a lot of things we need. We try and be very practical. We try and be straightforward. We try and be very civil. You know, we spend a lot of time talking to administrators right around the country. So I think by having good, solid and sensible messages that they understand, we get our point across.
Well, to that point then, I wonder what kind of impact have you already seen on the president's immigration ban? How's it affecting your decision making right now at the moment?
Well, Scarlet, good question. We actually checked on that. We've actually had none of our franchisees tell us about any impact so far. I just think that it's probably too early, but we've not heard anything from our franchisees on it.
I want to go back to a macro question. You mentioned the possible labor shortage out there. What is the situation in terms of wages and how that's affecting franchisee margins?
Well, clearly there's been some very fast moves to $15 in certain states like California and New York. Our franchisees have been concerned about that. But I don't want to give the impression that they're anti the minimum wage going up. In fact, we've always encouraged very positive discussions about that. And we actually do believe that increasing the minimum wage has some kind of accelerating effect on the economy. But franchisees have been concerned, so we've worked with them. As many things we can do internally. We've looked at things like energy. We've looked at using labor more efficiently. We've introduced technology like our on-the-go app is designed to actually reduce the amount of discussion time between the guest and the crew member. We're looking at streamlining our menu through a major test we announced today. But we also think there's opportunities out there. Sensible immigration reform is one, as is trying to find ways to recruit more younger workers because youth unemployment is still above 10%.
And of course, staying with the macro idea, you're expanding in China and you're a big supporter of global free trade, despite what the president has said. You've said that you would give the president concrete examples of the benefits of being a free trade supporter. What is your most compelling argument, and have you made it to the administration?
Well, we've not actually sat down with the administration as yet. I'm sure we will do. We had very good discussions with the last 2 or 3 administrations, so we'll find an opportunity to do that. Yeah, we do support free trade. We're in 61 countries. I was in China, Korea, and Japan 3 weeks ago. They're all talking about TPP. They're actually talking about taking advantage of the fact that America is dropping out of that. So it is important to try and hopefully get rid of some of these barriers so that we can move products around the world. We actually have examples on the ice cream side of our business, the Baskin-Robbins side, where the more countries we can get into will be good for jobs in America because our ice cream that is exported around the world is actually made in Alabama. So, we look forward to good, positive discussions about trade. And obviously, trade isn't just focused on the U.S. I mean, there's some moves in Europe, like Brexit in my original home country, that we're concerned about as well. And we've made our point on that very strongly, not only to the Foreign Secretary, but also the British Ambassador, because we believe that access to the broader market, the EU market, is very important.
Nigel, final question to you. In December, you struck your first national sports partnership with the National Hockey League. Being a big hockey fan, of course, I love that news. I wonder what other kind of partnerships you're looking into now.
Well, we've had lots of partnerships with different sports teams over the years, Scarlet, and I didn't know you were a hockey fan, but we saw that as a great opportunity. We saw that for 2 or 3 reasons. Amazingly, and you've proven the point, a lot of women love hockey, so we saw that as a way of accessing a very strong segment of our customer base. Secondly, we've had huge success with affiliations with teams where if they win, you get a special priced coffee, something like that. I mean, up here when the New England Patriots won the other night in a very exciting game, we gave away 87-cent coffee. So we will do the same with hockey teams. And the great hook for us is to drive people into our perks program that we believe is great value for consumers, but most of all, gets them very quickly onto on-the-go ordering, which helps speed up our transactions and gives us a lot of data for one-to-one marketing. So we think that deal with the NHL is great. It's going to be great for Dunkin' going forward, and we look forward to many relationships with the National Hockey League teams.